we'll quickly look at how the new PICO 4 stacks up to the Quest 2. If you're not sure which headset to buy, or if you should switch, then this video is a must-watch. I hope this video will help a little to make a better choice among both. Check out my video review of the PICO 4 to get a full picture of what it can do. Now let's start by looking at the prices. The 128GB version of the PICO 4 costs €429, and the 256GB version costs €499. The 128GB version of the Quest 2 costs €449, while the 256GB version costs €549. But with the Elite battery strap, the Quest 2 weighs more than 800 grams, which is pretty heavy. The head strap on the PICO 4 is comfortable and doesn't need to be replaced. And if you want the Quest 2 to be a little bit more comfortable, you'll need at least the basic Elite strap, which will bring the weight up to 718 grams. So, the PICO 4 is lighter. The Quest 2 has Fresnel lenses and a resolution of 1832 by 1920 per eye, while the PICO 4 has pancake lenses and a resolution of 2160 by 2160 per eye. Also, in terms of changing the IPD, the PICO 4 has an automatic IPD adjuster that goes from 62 to 72 millimeters, and the Quest 2 has a 3-step slide that goes from 58, 63, and to 68 millimeters. When it comes to lenses and the IPD adjuster, the PICO 4 has a nice advantage. Also, the PICO 4 can go lower, but that makes my nose hurt. The maximum refresh rate for the Quest 2 is 120 Hz, while the maximum refresh rate for the PICO 4 is 90 Hz. In this way, the Quest 2 wins. When it comes to the tracking cameras, both headsets have 4 of them. But the Quest 2 has a low-resolution grayscale pass-through, while the PICO 4 has a high-resolution color scale pass-through, which is not 3D but 2D, so the PICO 4 wins here. When it comes to sound quality, both headsets are fine. I find it hard to pick a winner, but since the Quest 2 has a 3.5mm headphone jack, I usually choose it, because there isn't one on the PICO 4. You could fix that by getting a USB-C to jack adapter though. By the way, do you know that both headsets have Bluetooth so you can connect your headphones? If you want to fully immerse yourself, I highly recommend that you do. Now talking about the hardware of Quest 2 and PICO 4, they both have Snapdragon XR2 chips, but the Quest 2 only has 6GB of RAM, while the PICO 4 has 8GB. This makes the PICO 4 a little bit faster when playing games and loading them. The controllers for the Quest 2 are a little bit bigger, and the tracking ring is on top. The controllers for the PICO 4 are a bit smaller, and the tracking rings are on top, going from back to front. This means that you can hold them a little closer together than you could with the Quest 2. Now, I really like both the PICO 4 controllers and the Quest controllers. The controllers for Quest 2 feel a little bit more solid and better made, so I'll give them both a plus here. Now, talking about the comfort level while wearing them, we need to look at the face cover and the default strap. Now, you can buy many accessories for the Quest 2 online. For the PICO 4 though, we'll just look at the ones that come with the box. The PICO 4 has a nice head strap, while the Quest 2 has a strap that is awkward and not as comfortable as the one on the PICO 4. Even though this is, of course, a very personal opinion. I don't know if many of you like the head strap that comes with Quest 2, but if you look at how comfortable each headset is right out of the box, the PICO 4 comes out on top. Believe me about that. Let's put on the headset and look at the software and user interface. As it is now, the PICO 4 feels kind of empty when you turn it on. I mean, you can access a lot of games and web apps, but it's clear that the software is new and that the user interface or UI needs to grow up a bit. It may look a lot like the Quest 2, but if we look at the user interface of the Quest 2, we can see that the UI of the Quest 2 feels more natural. We also have to say that the Quest 2 has a 2-gear head start. For the PICO software, let's wait and see what they do. I've also seen some small bugs with the PICO 4, but I'm sure they'll be fixed soon. I think the Quest 2 is better than the PICO 4 when it comes to software and user interface. Pay attention, all you standalone gamers out there. There are a lot of games in the libraries of both Quest 2 and the PICO 4. And many of the games you can play on the Quest 2, you can also play on the PICO 4. And that will only get more and more as time goes on. But over the past 2 years, the Quest 2 has gotten some exclusives that the PICO 4 doesn't have. Think about how great Resident Evil 4 is, how Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is going to be, and how popular Beat Saber is. At the moment, these games are not on the PICO 4. The PICO 4 needs to keep getting better. Developers would have to put their games on the PICO software. Also, if you have a lot of games in your Quest 2 library, you can't move them to the PICO 4. I would just keep playing the Quest 2 and not switch. But if you're new to VR and not too excited about those exclusives, you should get the PICO 4. Let's switch over to PCVR games. On both the Quest 2 and the PICO 4, you can connect to your PC. You can do this wirelessly or with a cable. You can also install a virtual desktop to stream PCVR games to your headset and give yourself a few more tweaking options to make the quality better. Now, when you play PCVR on the Quest 2, you can change a lot of settings. I like that it can be set to 72, 80, 90, or 120 Hz. While the PICO 4 only goes from 70 to 90. In the Oculus app, there is also a slider that lets you change the scale of the image to make it clearer. With the PICO 4 and the streaming assistant, you need to install on your computer to play PCVR games. You only have 3 options for smooth SD and HD. I'd like to see more options for the scale of the render here, but I guess you know that they will add them later when they update the software a bit. I didn't have any Quest 2 games, so switching wouldn't have cost me that much. I can tell you one thing though, when it comes to PCVR gaming, the PICO 4's comfort is what made me switch. I play a lot of flight simulators and simulation games in general, where you have to look around a lot. Every time I play the Quest 2 for an hour, my neck would start to hurt. And I don't have that trouble with PICO 4. The only bad thing about the PICO 4 is that it doesn't have many ways to change how good the image is. So I hope that comes later. If you want a VR headset to play PCVR games and have to choose between the Quest 2 and the PICO 4, go with the PICO 4. Now let's look at the fun and entertainment side of this, which includes things like watching movies and other stuff. At the moment, the Quest 2 has a bigger library of great documentaries, TV shows, and events made just for VR. The PICO 4 has PICO Video, which right now only has a few VR videos and shows. It will grow for sure, and you can watch YouTube and use other apps like HBO, Max Prime Video, and Disney Plus on both headsets. The Quest 2 is a better choice if you really want a full library of VR content though. But keep in mind that the PICO 4 is smaller and lighter, making it easier to watch for longer periods. Let's explore the fitness world on both headsets. During its announcement, it was clear that the focus of the PICO 4 was not just on games. On the box, fitness comes before gaming, which they have every right to do. The PICO 4 is great for fitness and working out because the headset is so light. This is something I would never do with a Quest 2 because I think it would be too hard on my neck. The PICO 4 comes with standard fitness apps and a tracker that lets you see how many calories you have burned. You can make plans, set goals, and work up to a sweat. But still, using the app Made a Quest Move on the Quest 2, you can also do this. But if you're a fitness enthusiast or fitness is your profession in any way, then go the PICO 4 to have no regrets. Trust me, it's light because its main focus is on fitness, and it already has apps that will get you ready for the next Olympics. Now last but not the least, there's productivity. Mida seems to be putting all of its efforts into being productive as Apple and Microsoft. The Quest 2 has some great apps for getting things done like workrooms and a lot more that can help you and your team work better together. Not much of that is in the PICO 4. I haven't seen it that often, and I haven't heard anything about it from them. ByteDance, I hope you remember that. The PICO 4 was made by the same company that made TikTok. I think they would be more interested in having fun than getting work done here. So if you want to be productive, stick with the Quest 2. And if this is very important to you, wait for the Quest 3 or the Quest Pro or whatever is yet to come. Now there's a lot more to talk about, but I hope this helps you understand these two choices. Both headsets are great, and the one you choose will depend on what you want to do with it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, tell me what you like and why you think so. This could help a lot of new people. Now, don't forget that you can subscribe to this channel if you want to know about the latest PCVR gears, games, accessories. I mean, all in all. Looking forward to see you all in the next one.